All right, let's get it. Contrary to popular belief, they've always known. And as you can tell from the title, this is my follow-up video to They Know, which I made a few months ago. I'll put a link at the end of the video, and I'll also put a card up on the screen. So, I've been uh I've been quiet for a minute. I've been away for a little while, but it's because I have a job. This is actually my hobby. This is just something that I like to do. I think it's fun. This is not a source of income for me. Said it's just a hobby, and sometimes I get busy, and I have to basically put the more important things first. But now that I'm back at it, I'm a little bit caught up. I'm going to try and upload videos again more regularly, more frequently, and try and get back on schedule. I do have a few follow-up videos that I need to put out, record, work on, whatever you want to put on there. I said it's just that I've been busy and I haven't had a chance to make all of the videos that I've been wanting to make. So with that being said, today I'm going to talk about they've always known our true history, our true identity. And in my first video, I used it was more directed towards Hollywood, and I just used like movies to reference what they know. And people can easily dismiss that. They can say that, oh, it's just fiction. It doesn't mean anything that they put it up on the big screen. So today I'm actually going to get more scholastic in my attempt to prove that they've always known who we really are. So the first source that I'm going to read from is from the Encyclopedia Britannica. And again, I didn't write this. This isn't my article. This isn't my research. And anyone who finds this to be or let's just say anyone who finds this non-credible is purely a hypocrite or someone who's just in total disbelief. I'm going to read from the column on the right, starting with the people. And I hope you guys can see this. And it reads, for almost 13 centuries, Arabic has been the written and spoken language of Egypt. Before the Arab invasion in AD 639, and that's important, Coptic, the final stage of the ancient Egyptian language, was the language of both religious and daily life. By the 12th century, however, it had been almost entirely replaced by Arabic, Coptic continuing only as a liturgical language. The population of Egypt forms a fairly homogeneous group whose dominant physical characteristics are the result of the admixture of Hamitic and Semitic peoples. Let me say that again. The population of Egypt forms a fairly homogeneous group whose dominant physical characteristics are the result of the admixture of Hamitic and Semitic peoples. The inhabitants of the Nile Delta have had greater contact with the rest of the Middle East and Europe than have the inhabitants of Upper Egypt, who are generally more conservative. Minority groups include the Nubians in the southern part of the Nile Valley, the Hamitic Beja in the southern part of the Eastern Desert, and peoples of mixed Arab and Berber stock in the Western Desert. The European communities in Cairo and Alexandria are not numerically significant. I'm going to repeat that also. The European communities in Cairo and Alexandria are not numerically significant. So let's just go over some of the things that I just read. Why did I say that it was important when they speak of the Arab invasion in AD 639? Well, it's because a lot of people like to say that it's a Arab nation, and it's always been an Arab nation. And this just goes to dispel all of that. This debunks that theory. It wasn't until 639 years after the death of Christ, that's what AD means, that the Arabs started to populate Egypt. And that last part that I read about European communities not being numerically significant, well, it sort of just speaks for itself. So now let's go to one of the most trusted sources, if not the most trusted source on planet Earth, the Bible. And I'm reading from Psalms 105, and I'm going to start at 26. And it reads, He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They shewed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham. Let me read that again. He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They shewed his signs among them, which really is showed, right? And wonders in the land of Ham. But what did we just read on the previous slide? They just said that the people of Egypt were a Hamitic and Semitic admixture. So does that just make the Bible historically accurate? I'm just saying, right? You know, people like to say, oh no, there's no proof. Yeah, there is. You just have to know where to look. And when you read the information, you have to accept the information. Don't go off on some wild quest trying to debunk it. It is what it is. And I'm going to come back to that. So now I'm going to read from nature.com. And I have a few screenshots from this one article. I didn't want to just have the whole article on here because they're kind of all over the place. In this article, they sort of make conflicting statements. You know, you have a few scientists or archaeologists writing on this article, and they sort of bump heads. But if you want to read the whole thing, there's the link up there, nature.com/articles, blah, blah, blah. You can see the rest. All right, moving on. The ancient genomics revolution is finally reaching the cradle of humanity, Africa. Researchers have sequenced the genomes of 4 children who lived in what is now Cameroon several thousand years ago. Their genomes, the first to be collected from an ancient human in West Africa, raise questions about the origins of a migration that carried languages and agriculture across the continent, and hint at older events in human history, such as the emergence of Homo sapiens and its spread out of Africa. But the findings underscore the yawning gap in scientists' understanding of African population history relative to that of Eurasia, the Americas, and even Oceania. Researchers have sequenced more than 1,000 ancient human genomes from these regions versus fewer than 80 from Africa, few of which are older than 10,000 years. We don't have a clear picture right now, says David Reich, a population geneticist at Harvard Medical School in Boston, Massachusetts, who co-led the study. Africa is the most diverse place on Earth. It's where our particular sublineage of humans originated. It's no surprise, he adds, that even the relatively recent history of its populations is hard to decipher today. So let's unpack some of that. So basically, they're saying that Africa is the birthplace of humanity. They know it. They've always known it. I mean, we've always heard about Lucy, who's supposed to be like the oldest remains ever found, the lady in Africa. But this is just confirming what I said. We've always known, what they've always known, is that Africa is the birthplace of humanity. And I know a lot of the times that the scientific community and the religious communities bump heads. You know, their views are very different. They're on one side of the spectrum while the other is on the other side of the spectrum, and they tend to think that they can't coexist. But if you just accept the information for what it is, you will see that science actually does confirm religion. They just do it in a roundabout way. They don't, how can I say this? The Most High is not the author of confusion. The Bible was simple. The Bible was plain. Read what's on the page and accept it for what it is. See, people get into all of this, oh, you're interpreting this wrong, you're interpreting that wrong, blah, 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 blah. Read what's on the page and accept it. A lot of times there is nothing to interpret. That's people with an agenda. Science, on the other hand, there is a lot to interpret and a lot to unpack, and that's the intent. That's done on purpose. If you ever read a legal document or read like a scientific journal, right? A lot of the language is very confusing. They use a lot of terminology that the average person can't understand. And it's all by design because they want to confuse you. They don't want you to actually know what they're saying. And see, to me, it doesn't show how intelligent you are because you can use a lot of fancy sounding terms and big words and make something very simple very convoluted. To me, that's not intelligence. I actually think it works the other way. I think a measure of intelligence is when you can take something really complex and make it plain and make it simple so the average person can understand what you're saying. To me, that's the real level of intelligence. And that's all I'm basically trying to do. I'm not saying that I'm intelligent, but I'm just saying I'm just trying to break this down to its lowest common denominator, to use a math term. That's all I'm trying to do. So here's another paragraph or passage I want to read, if you want to call it that, from this same article. And like I said, I was skipping through this article, and some people will say, oh, you're cherry picking the information. Well, I mean, like I said, you can go to nature.com and read the whole article for yourself. It's just that, a lot of it, first of all, a lot of it is just filler information, like doesn't say anything definitive. And like I said, they're like all over the place in this article. But moving on. And now I'm going to read the shared ancestry. Today, although people in sub-Saharan Africa are the most, and now I'm going to touch back on that sub-Saharan Africa thing in a second too. Is that something that really irks me? But today, although people in sub-Saharan Africa are the most genetically diverse in the world, many of the region's inhabitants have similar ancestry because of a widespread migration that began around 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. Originating in West Africa, this migration, known as the Bantu expansion, spread agriculture and a family of common languages into Eastern and Southern Africa, where many residents still speak Bantu languages and have West African ancestry. Linguists and archaeologists have theorized that an area called the grasslands near the border of modern Cameroon and Nigeria was the origin of the Bantu expansion. Bantu languages spoken there are more diverse than anywhere else in Africa, and archaeological evidence suggests that humans in the region were in the early stages of domesticating crops and transitioning to an agricultural lifestyle thousands of years ago. So, if you pay attention, if you catch them trying to be slick, if you catch the lie, whenever they want to talk about Egypt being black, which I just showed in the previous slides, the Bible says it, the encyclopedia says it. But when they want to talk about Egypt being a white population, they always throw in the sub-Saharan Africa term, phrase, whatever you want to call it. And it's nothing but BS. It's just a pure lie. There is no evidence to support that. That's first and foremost. But second, just think about how illogical it is. So you mean to tell me that there's this invisible border in Africa, right? Where it just there's just a hard cutoff. The people above this were white, and everyone below it is black. That makes no sense at all. Name me one other place on this planet where there's just a hard cutoff of one type of people, and then there's another type of people that inhabit the same land, that inhabit the same continent. Show me that. There isn't one. That's just the lie that they want to tell, and they continue to tell when they're being dishonest. Is they throw in this sub-Saharan crapola, and because people have letters behind their names, a lot of us just accept it. Well, I'm sorry, I don't accept it. I've always known that it was a lie, and I'm proving today that it is a lie. Whenever you hear someone start screaming sub-Saharan Africa, you can kind of just tune them out, because next is going to come a lie about how the people were white in ancient Egypt. It's garbage. So I was just having fun, right? And I put in a Google search, and you can see it. First human on Earth. And I didn't even click on any links. This is the first thing that came up. One of the earliest known humans is Homo habilis, or however you pronounce that, or handyman, who lived about 2.4 million to 1.4 million years ago in Eastern and Southern Africa. They know. I'm just saying, they know. And they've always known. But let's get some biblical proof, right? And this is Genesis, and everyone knows this story, right? Reading from Genesis, starting at 26. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given green herb for meat." And it was so. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. There's a lot to unpack there in that passage. A lot of these things I may touch on in a different video, but there are a few things that I'm going to hit on very quickly, and I'm going to move on. And to me, it's not up for debate. So I don't want anyone trying to debate me on this, because I'm not going to debate you. Like I was saying earlier, there is no interpretation when it comes to the Bible. Accept it for what it says, accept it for what it is. And the first thing I want to unpack is we were created in God's image. A head, a torso, two arms, two legs. We were created in God's image. That means we look like God. It says it right there. Second thing, the sixth day. I want anyone, everyone, to look at a calendar when you're done watching this and tell me what is the sixth day. Or don't tell me, because I already know. But recognize what's the sixth day. The sixth day is Friday. Count it out. The sixth day is Friday, not Saturday. Saturday is the seventh day of the week. Saturday is the Sabbath day. Sunday is the first day of the week. And unless you have one of those modified calendars that begin with Monday, you know, the work week calendar, every calendar in the world is going to tell you that Sunday is the first day of the week. So Saturday is the real Sabbath day. And we've been taught, we've been brainwashed into thinking that Sunday is the Sabbath day, and it's all wrong. And I don't, like I said, I'm not going to get deep into it on this video, but that's just one of the things that I wanted to touch on here. But I want to touch on something else, and this is going to require more research on my end, but it says that we were given every green herb to eat for meat. So I wonder, and like I said, I'm going to have to do more research on this. I haven't made a determination one way or the other, but are we supposed to be vegetarians? Just a question, just a thought. And I know there are examples, many examples in the Bible of people eating meat. I know that. I know there are the laws in Leviticus about clean and unclean meats. But I just, I wonder, were we really supposed to be vegetarians? Are we supposed to eat flesh? Something I like to, like I said, research further, and maybe when I, pray and ask for understanding and get a definitive answer, I'll come back and touch on in a future video. But I read that passage to say this, right? This is science confirming what the Bible says. If Adam and Eve were the first two people on earth, and science just said that the first person or the first people were in Africa, doesn't that quite confirm that Adam and Eve were black? Doesn't it? Just let that sink in. Well, I'm going to leave it there for now. That's all I have for this one. If you like the way I think, slide over to Patreon. Check out some of my original short stories. It's only $1.50 per download. You can also follow me on Twitter at StephenCAustin1, which I'm not really active on Twitter a whole lot. I admit that. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on our future videos. And I know I've kind of rambled on this one a little bit. This is longer than my usual videos, but you know, sometimes the information just is there and you have to put it out the way it is. So like always, I thank you for your time. Peace.